I want you to understand something. You've worked hard, you've earned that money, and when you look at your bank account at the end of the month, you feel like you deserve to treat yourself. I get it. I've been there. You think it's time to change something, to buy that thing you've been eyeing, to upgrade your life just a little bit. But here's what I learned after decades of studying patterns, both in markets and in human behavior. The things you think will make you happier are often the exact things draining your wealth and keeping you trapped in a cycle you don't even realize you're in. Most people believe they have a spending problem. They don't. They have a pattern recognition problem. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today. Because the difference between building wealth and staying broke isn't about how much you make. It's about understanding the mathematical reality of what you're buying and why you're buying it. I spent my career looking for patterns in data that others missed. I built algorithms that could predict market movements, not through emotion or gut feeling, but through cold, hard analysis of what actually happens when certain conditions are met. And when I turned that same lens toward consumer behavior, toward the way people spend money, I saw something disturbing. I saw intelligent people, educated people, people who should know better, making the same purchasing decisions over and over again, wondering why they never got ahead. The answer is simple, but it's not easy to accept. You're being manipulated by systems designed by people much smarter than you think, and those systems are exploiting cognitive biases you don't even know you have. Every dollar you spend on certain categories of items is a dollar that will never compound, never grow, never work for you. It's gone. And worse, it often creates a negative compound effect, costing you more over time. Let me be direct with you. There are specific things you need to stop buying immediately if you want any chance of building real wealth. Not reduce, not cut back on, stop completely. And I'm going to tell you exactly what they are and why the mathematics of these purchases will keep you poor no matter how much you earn. The first category is subscription services you don't actively use every single day. Notice I didn't say subscriptions in general. I said subscriptions you don't use daily. Here's why this matters from a quantitative perspective. Let's say you have 5 subscription services: streaming platforms, music apps, software you barely touch, gym memberships you forgot about, meal kit deliveries that seemed like a good idea 6 months ago. Each one costs maybe $10 to $30 per month. Seems harmless, right? Wrong. The average person maintains between 8 and 12 active subscriptions. Let's be conservative and say you have 8 subscriptions averaging $20 each. That's $160 per month or $1,920 per year over 10 years, assuming no price increases, which never happens. That's $19,200. But here's where the mathematics gets brutal. If instead of spending that $160 per month, you invested it with a modest 7% annual return, after 10 years, you'd have $27,800. After 20 years, $102,000. After 30 years, $308,000. You just traded $300,000 for the convenience of having apps you open once a month. That's not a spending problem. That's a pattern recognition failure. You're optimizing for convenience in the present while destroying wealth in the future. I learned early in my career that successful investors don't make decisions based on what feels good right now. They make decisions based on what the data shows will produce the best outcome over time. I remember sitting in my office one evening looking at trading patterns, and I noticed something. The most consistent losses came not from big, dramatic mistakes, but from small, repeated inefficiencies. Traders who let tiny transaction costs accumulate. Investors who held positions that generated minimal returns because they forgot they owned them. The parallel to subscription services is exact. Each individual subscription seems too small to matter, but the aggregate effect compounded over time is catastrophic. Here's what you do. Today, not tomorrow, you open your bank statements for the last 3 months. You highlight every recurring charge. Then you ask yourself one question for each. Did I actively use this service at least 20 times in the last 30 days? Not could I use it, not might I use it someday, Did I actually use it? If the answer is no, you cancel it immediately, not at the end of the billing cycle. Right now, the companies know that delay is their friend. They count on you forgetting, getting distracted, deciding it's not worth the hassle. That's the trap. The second category you need to eliminate completely is eating out for convenience. Notice I didn't say eating out entirely. I said eating out for convenience. This is a critical distinction, and it requires you to be brutally honest with yourself about your actual behavior versus your idealized behavior. When you eat out because you planned a social event, because you're celebrating something meaningful, because you're conducting business, that's a conscious choice with a clear purpose. When you eat out because you didn't plan your meals, because you're tired after work, because it's easier than cooking, that's a wealth destruction mechanism. And the numbers are staggering. The average American spends $3,660 per year on food outside the home, according to the data. But here's what that number hides. That's the average across all demographics, including people who almost never eat out. If you're someone who grabs lunch at work 4 days a week and picks up dinner twice a week because you're exhausted, your number is much higher. Let's be realistic. Lunch out costs $12 to $15. Dinner delivery or takeout costs $20 to $30 for one person. 4 lunches at $14 is $56. 2 dinners at $25 is $50. That's $106 per week, or $5,512 per year. But wait, we're not done with the mathematics yet. Because convenience eating doesn't just cost you the money you spend on the food, it costs you the food you already bought that spoils in your refrigerator. Studies show that households waste 20 to 40% of the food they purchase. If you're spending $400 per month on groceries but eating out regularly, you're throwing away $80 to $160 of food every single month. So now we're at $6,400 to $7,400 per year in total food waste and convenience eating costs. Invest that $6,000 annually at 7% returns for 30 years. You get $568,000. You traded over $500,000 for the convenience of not spending 30 minutes preparing meals. Does that sound like a rational decision? Does that sound like something someone who understands compound growth would do? I'll tell you what changed my perspective on this. Early in my career, when I was still teaching at MIT and starting to build my first systematic trading models, I had very little money. I mean genuinely little. I was supporting a family on an academic salary while trying to fund research. Every dollar mattered. So I did something that seemed extreme to my colleagues. I calculated the hourly cost of convenience. If I spent an hour cooking and it saved me $20 compared to eating out, I was paying myself $20 per hour tax-free to cook. That's actually a better return than most people's jobs provide after taxes. But here's the deeper insight. Cooking isn't just about the money. It's about breaking the pattern of impulsive decision-making. When you plan your meals, when you shop with a list, when you prepare food in advance, you're training yourself to think ahead, to delay gratification, to optimize for future outcomes instead of present convenience. Those are the exact skills that separate successful investors from everyone else. The third category, and this one will upset people, is new technology and electronics you don't need for work. I'm not talking about your primary computer or phone. I'm talking about the constant upgrade cycle, the newest gadgets, the smart home devices, the latest gaming systems, the upgraded audio equipment, the better camera when your current one works fine. Here's what the technology companies figured out decades ago. They can manipulate your perception of obsolescence. They can make you feel like your perfectly functional device is somehow inadequate because a new version exists. And they can do this on a predictable cycle that generates guaranteed revenue streams. You think you're making independent purchasing decisions. You're not. You're responding to engineered psychological triggers. Let's talk about smartphones specifically because this is where the pattern is most clear and most expensive. The average flagship smartphone costs $1,000 to $1,200. The upgrade cycle that carriers and manufacturers push is 18 to 24 months. So every 2 years, You're spending over $1,000 on a device that does essentially the same things as your previous device, just marginally faster with marginally better features you'll barely notice after the first week. Here's the mathematical reality. A well-maintained smartphone will function perfectly fine for 4 to 5 years. The battery can be replaced for $60 to $80, which is still far cheaper than a new device. If you extend your upgrade cycle from 2 years to 5 years, you save at least one purchase. That's $1,200 saved every 5 years, or $240 annually. Over 30 years, investing that $240 per year at 7% gives you $22,800. And that's just smartphones. Add in tablets, laptops, headphones, smartwatches, gaming systems, and you're easily talking about another $300 to $500 per year in unnecessary upgrades. But the real cost isn't just the money, it's the cognitive load. Every new device requires setup time, learning time, troubleshooting time. You're spending mental energy managing technology instead of using that energy to solve actual problems or create actual value. I learned this lesson when I was building Renaissance Technologies. The traders who succeeded weren't the ones with the fanciest tools. They were the ones who mastered a simple, reliable tool set and focused all their cognitive resources on pattern recognition and decision making. I remember a young analyst who joined our team. Brilliant mathematician, top of his class. He spent his first month requesting upgrades to his workstation, faster processors, multiple monitors, specialized software. I watched him waste hours configuring and optimizing his setup. Meanwhile, another analyst with a basic computer was already finding patterns and generating ideas because she wasn't distracted by tools. She understood something crucial. The tool doesn't create the insight. The mind creates the insight. The tool just displays it. Stop buying new technology unless your current technology literally cannot perform the function you need, not performs it slower, cannot perform it at all. That's the standard. Anything less is you falling for marketing and manufactured obsolescence. The fourth category is premium brands when generic alternatives are chemically or functionally identical. This is where people get emotional, so I'm going to be very precise about what I mean. I'm not telling you to buy the cheapest possible version of everything. I'm telling you to stop paying premium prices for products where the only difference is branding and marketing when the actual product is materially the same. Generic medications are the clearest example. The FDA requires generic drugs to have the same active ingredients, same strength, same dosage form, and same route of administration as brand name drugs. They must meet the same quality standards. The only differences allowed are inactive ingredients like fillers and dyes. Yet people pay 2 to 10 times more for brand name medications because of perceived quality differences that don't exist in the active compounds. But this extends far beyond medications. Store brand, groceries, generic cleaning products, unbranded basic clothing items. In many cases, these products are manufactured in the same facilities as premium brands, just without the marketing markup. The premium brand charges 50% to 200% more for packaging and advertising, not for superior ingredients or construction. Here's how this impacts your wealth. Let's say you spend $400 per month on groceries and household items. If 20% of those purchases are premium branded items where generic alternatives exist and would save you 30% on those items, you're wasting $24 per month or $288 per year. Invested at 7% for 30 years, that's $27,000. You paid $27,000 over your lifetime for the privilege of seeing certain logos on your shelf. Now, I'm not saying never buy premium. I'm saying be mathematical about it. If a premium product genuinely performs measurably better in a way that matters to your life or work, the premium may be worth it, but you need data, not feelings. You need objective performance differences, not brand loyalty or status signaling. I applied this principle rigorously in my own life. When I had to choose between vendors, between service providers, between product options, I looked at specifications, performance data, reliability metrics, not brand recognition, not what my peers were buying, not what advertising told me was superior. I treated purchasing decisions like investment decisions. What's the expected return? What's the risk? What's the data? The companies that manufacture these products are not your friends. They have one objective: extract maximum revenue from you. They hire psychologists, neuroscientists, behavioral economists to design packaging, pricing, and marketing that bypasses your rational thinking and triggers emotional responses. You think you prefer the brand name because it's better. You prefer it because hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent conditioning you to prefer it. The fifth category, and this is the one that will save some of you the most money, is anything marketed as an investment in yourself that doesn't have measurable skill development or career progression. Courses, seminars, coaching programs, masterminds, productivity apps, self-help books you'll never finish, gym equipment you'll use twice, organizational systems you'll abandon in 3 weeks. The personal development industry is worth over $10 billion annually, and the vast majority of that money is wasted. Not because learning and growth aren't valuable. They're incredibly valuable when done correctly, but because most of what's sold as personal development is emotional satisfaction, not actual development. Here's the test. Before you buy any product or service marketed as an investment in yourself, ask these questions. First, does this teach me a specific, measurable skill that increases my earning capacity or reduces my necessary expenses? Second, do I have a concrete plan to apply this knowledge within 7 days of acquiring it? Third, have I already exhausted free or low-cost resources on this topic? If you can't answer yes to all three, don't buy it. I see people spending thousands of dollars on entrepreneurship courses when they haven't started a single business, spending hundreds on productivity systems when they haven't mastered basic time management, buying coaching programs when they haven't implemented freely available advice. This isn't investment. It's procrastination disguised as progress. The mathematics here is particularly cruel because these purchases often come in waves. Someone buys a course for $500. It doesn't deliver instant results because nothing does. So they buy another course for $700 from someone promising a different approach. Then a mastermind group for $2,000. Then private coaching for $5,000. Before they know it, they've spent $10,000 on information without implementing any of it. That $10,000 invested instead would have generated $20,000 in compound returns over 10 years. But it gets worse. The opportunity cost isn't just the money not invested, it's the time spent consuming content instead of creating value. I've watched brilliant people spend 10 hours per week consuming courses, podcasts, videos about success and wealth while spending 0 hours per week actually building businesses or developing marketable skills. They're addicted to the feeling of learning without doing the work of applying. When I was developing trading algorithms, I didn't take courses on algorithmic trading. They barely existed. I learned mathematics, statistics, and programming. Then I applied those tools to markets. I tested ideas. I failed repeatedly. I analyzed failures. I refined approaches. The learning happened through application, not through consumption. That's the only learning that matters. So here's your new rule. For every dollar you spend on educational content, you must create $10 of measurable value through application of that content within 90 days, or you never buy educational content from that category again. That forces you to be selective, to implement, and to measure results instead of collecting information that makes you feel productive while keeping you broke. Now I want to address the psychological mechanism that makes all of these purchasing patterns so persistent and so hard to break. It's called present bias, and it's one of the most expensive cognitive biases you possess. Present bias is your brain's tendency to give stronger weight to rewards that are closer to the present time. A small reward today feels more attractive than a large reward in the future, even when the mathematics clearly show the future reward is better. This is why you can know intellectually that saving and investing will make you wealthy in 30 years, yet still choose to spend money on things that provide tiny hits of pleasure right now. Your brain isn't designed for long-term wealth accumulation. It's designed for immediate survival. For most of human history, there was no guarantee of a future, so the rational strategy was to consume resources immediately. But that wiring is malfunctioning in a modern economy where the future is relatively predictable and compound growth is possible. Every single category I've discussed, exploits present bias. Subscriptions give you instant access to entertainment or services. Convenient food gives you immediate satisfaction without effort. New technology gives you a dopamine hit of novelty. Premium brands give you instant status signaling. Personal development products give you the feeling of progress without the delayed gratification of actual progress. They're all designed to trigger your present bias and separate you from your money. The solution isn't willpower. Willpower is a finite resource that depletes throughout the day. The solution is systems that remove decision points. You don't rely on your future self to make good decisions. You make the decision once and create an environment where the right choice is automatic. Cancel subscriptions now, not when you remember to cancel them later. Set up automatic investing so money leaves your account before you can spend it. Prepare meals in batches so convenience food isn't an option. Create a technology replacement schedule based on function failure, not on release cycles. Switch to generic products as your current premium products run out. Implement a mandatory 90-day waiting period for any educational purchase. These aren't just spending tips. They're mathematical optimizations of your decision architecture, and the returns compound. Every dollar you don't waste on these categories is a dollar that can be invested. Every dollar invested generates returns. Those returns generate additional returns. Over decades, the difference between someone who optimizes their spending patterns and someone who doesn't is literally millions of dollars in net worth. I built my career on finding small edges that compound over thousands of trades. A tiny advantage, repeated consistently, becomes an enormous advantage over time. The same principle applies to personal finance. You don't need massive income. You don't need to win the lottery. You don't need to get lucky with a single investment. You need to eliminate systematic inefficiencies in your spending, invest the difference, and let mathematics do what mathematics does. Now, I want you to do something for me. I want you to like this video and leave a comment telling me which of these 5 categories you're going to eliminate first and what you're going to do with the money you save. Not what you're thinking about doing, what you're actually going to do. Write one sentence. Make it specific. Make it measurable. Because that act of public commitment increases the probability you'll follow through. That's not my opinion. That's what the research on behavioral change shows. Here's what you need to remember. You can't build wealth while hemorrhaging money on subscriptions you don't use, food you don't need, technology you don't require, brands that don't matter, and information you won't implement. The mathematics doesn't work. The compound growth never happens because there's nothing to compound. Wealth isn't built through lucky investments or high income, though those can help. Wealth is built through consistent elimination of negative compound effects and consistent application of positive compound effects. Every unnecessary purchase is a negative compound effect. Every invested dollar is a positive compound effect. Your net worth 30 years from now is the cumulative result of which pattern dominated your decisions. Most people never achieve financial independence, not because they don't earn enough, but because they never learn to think mathematically about money. They make emotional decisions, they respond to marketing, they optimize for feelings instead of outcomes, and then they wonder why the numbers never improve. Stop wondering, start calculating. The data always tells the truth if you're willing to look at it.